I've always been fascinated about makeup effects in films, especially horror films. Who would have thought a movie about a makeup effects man who gets caught in a conspiracy would be so damn good? But we're going to get into one right now. Let's do it. And the movie I'm reviewing today is 1986's FX. Yes, FX. This movie was released February 7th of 1986. It's an hour and 49 minutes long. It's rated R, had a budget of $10 million, and upon release made $20.6 million. It was a modest success that year, but they did go on to make a sequel 5 years later. And this movie stars the Bryans. Brian Brown, who a lot of people know from Cocktail, but he did a lot of other work as well. And the great Brian Dennehy, who sadly just passed away a few weeks ago. And Robert Mandel directed this film. Robert Mandel, looking to his credits, directed a lot of TV movies. He did a few movies. He did this one. He did one a year after this, and he also directed a action movie I like a lot with Tom Berenger that came out in 96, The Substitute, if you've ever seen that film. Mostly he did TV, though. He directed episodes of The X-Files, Lost, and a lot of other TV shows. Brian Brown plays Raleigh Tyler. He's a special effects artist for movies. And Brian Dennehy plays Lieutenant Leo McCarthy. At the beginning of this film, we see this restaurant, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. A guy gets set on fire. Somebody shooting a gun, and this woman gets mowed down by a machine gun, and it's a movie set. You hear the director yell, "Cut!" And we're introduced to Brian Brown, and he's the one pulling off these makeup effects. And we meet his girlfriend. She works on the film, and he is approached when they're done shooting for the day by a guy from the Justice Department they need his help. They have this ex-mob boss that's turned state's witness, and they want to fake an assassination on him so people think he's dead so they can protect him better because there's been a hit put out on him. And after a lot of deliberation, at first he doesn't want to do it, and then finally he concedes and takes the job. And he plans it. He does the molding of this guy's face, makes appliances, like latex appliances, and he shows him how he's going to use a squib on him and a fake gun with fake bullets. And they pull off, well, he thinks it all goes smoothly. He plays the shooter, puts a mustache on, trench coat, and he goes in this restaurant where this mob boss is, where they have it set up because they want it to be a public hit. And it goes, what he thinks goes smoothly. He goes out and gets in the backseat of a car with the guy who got him into this from the Justice Department. And while they're driving, the guy turns around with a gun and tries to kill him. And he stops him, and the car crashes right through a barricade with a poster of Code of Silence on it. Plus, we see a poster for Rambo 2. And in Raleigh's studio apartment, or where his makeup studio is, there's a poster for Zombie, which was a horror film back in the 80s, hanging on the wall. So there's references to other films, for sure. Now, Raleigh's on the run. He goes to his girlfriend's apartment, and he spends the night. And in the morning, they're going to go to talk to the press. She talks him into it. Well, she goes to open the curtain on the window, and she gets shot through the chest by a sniper. And the guy comes over, and Brian Brown kills him in a struggle, and he takes off. And this is where we meet Lieutenant Leo McCarthy, played by Brian Dennehy. This isn't until like 43 minutes into the movie that we're finally seeing Brian Dennehy. He gets woken up with a phone call. He's a police officer, obviously, and he gets called to go to the crime scene. Now, this is where the regular cops get involved. They're not involved up to this point. It's just the Justice Department trying to kill Brian Brown to cover up their tracks for this conspiracy that's going on. And Leo plays catch-up pretty quick. He's a good cop, but he steps on a lot of toes to get the information he needs, and he goes over his superiors' heads. So there's a friction between him and some of the other people in the department and his higher-ups right away. And Brian Dennehy's great in this film. So is Brian Brown. Everybody's good in this movie, no doubt. And then towards the end of the film, now Brian Brown and Brian Dennehy don't meet in this film until the last 10 minutes of the movie. Like, they don't share the screen at all until the last 10 minutes. It's very unlike the sequel, which came out 5 years later, where they spent, even though in that movie, Brian Dennehy doesn't show up to like 40 minutes in the movie there either, but they spend a lot more time on the screen together in the sequel than they do in this one. The end of the movie, the final confrontation takes place at this mansion where this mob boss is being held by the State Department guys. They're waiting for a helicopter to get the hell out of there because the cops are closing in on him. And their whole plan is this mob boss has stashed away in a locker overseas all this money, and they're going to take him there and they're going to split the money. So Brian Brown shows up with his bag of tricks, foils them, and Leo shows up too with some local cops that help him, and a lot of the bad guys get killed, and everybody thinks Brian Brown's dead too, his character. He plans it that way. But Leo knows better, and this is where they finally meet at the end of the film, and they go and they get the money themselves. By this point, Leo's been suspended from his job. His superiors have had enough of his shit, and they team up and they go get the money and they split it, and they become best friends, as we know in the sequel. When we introduced, they've been friends since the first film. This movie is really well done. This, compared to the second sequel, which I like the sequel, the sequel is more of a fun, more like a more mainstream film, where this is more of a gritty action thriller, for sure, and it's more hard-edged because it's rated R. The sequel's PG-13. So I like this one a little bit better, although I enjoy the sequel as well, but I like this one a little bit better. There's a few errors in the movie with the directing. There's when his girlfriend gets shot and there's a struggle with this guy who comes in the apartment. There's a couple stunts that don't work. The way they shot it, it just comes off as hokey and looks, frankly, like shit. But other than that, it's well directed. It's well acted. All the actors are doing great. And I really enjoy this movie. It's a fun movie. Like I said, this one's a little bit more hard-edged than part 2. But I would give this film an 8 out of 10. I really enjoy this movie. It's not perfect. There are some problems. I think there's a few pacing issues, too. I've been saying it for the last few movies, but it's true. Watching this again last night, it's an hour and 49 minutes long. I swear there could at least be 5 minutes shaved off this film. But overall, it's a very enjoyable movie. If you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. Have you ever seen FX? I just gave it an 8 out of 10. Leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think of this film. Hit the thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. All that great stuff. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you all stay safe. Take care of each other. And I'll be back soon with another review. Thanks. Bye.